So good morning. I'm with Waseem Herwitker from First Alliance Financial Services. Waseem is from a banking background from HSBC. Initially, a few years ago, he moved into becoming an IFA, um, and your company is called First Alliance Financial Services. So
That's it.
the key focus of this interview is about the government action or response to Brexit. Brexit, of course, 23rd, 24th of June. One of the responses from the Bank of England is the 0.25% drop. Waseem, how should investors react to what's happened, in terms of the monetary policy from the Bank of England?
Hi, Brendan. Firstly, thanks for inviting me onto this call. Sorry, could you just repeat your question again there, mate?
So, with regard to the Bank of England and its monetary policy, reducing the rate to 0.25%, how should investors develop? There's lots of different investors, but we're looking specifically at property investors. We're looking at from traditional landlords all the way through to developers. What should their response be from the recent monetary policy by the Bank of England?
Uh, to be honest with you, the rate drop is pretty much done to stimulate the economy. So I would, particularly those landlords who would look at traditional financing, buy-to-let mortgages, should at some point expect a drop in mortgage rate. So for them, this is probably better news
Okay,
overall, really.
so landlords and investors, developers in that spectrum should be actually thinking it's positive news rather than looking on any downsides. Is that what you're saying? How will it affect their lending? Should they expect lending still to be, because initially after June 23rd, June 24th, I was speaking to lots of people, both mortgage brokers, both property investors, and I was asking them what they had, what's going to be the situation, and they said one thing is high street banking is going to get a lot tougher. Um, Now,
Yeah, I would probably expect the same. I don't necessarily mean because they don't, well, not because they don't want to lend, but I, I would probably assume in terms of regulation more than anything else. But yeah, I do agree. I think now is the time for more specialist lenders to come to the fore, to be fair. And I think we're going to see more of those as people realize that the market is not so much driven by the best rate, but who or which lender is going to be the best for your circumstances. When I give the updates at your events, it's a key driver. It's a key message that I put out there is the investment is we all want the best rate, but it's got to be first and foremost based around who you are, what your circumstances are, and the lender to suit your circumstances the best. That said, overall, it depends on what you want to do. So for your traditional buy-to-let financing, yeah, I mean, this base rate reduction would favour the borrowers, if anything else. Specialist lending, I think that would be dependable on what you're looking to do. Bridging typically isn't impacted on these sort of things, but I mean, yeah, that's probably more of a micro level. On a macro level, we've got to look at what the base rate means and the reduction means at the longer term, and I think that's what we've got to consider.
so in terms of just for the listeners out there, when you say specialist lending, what type of specialist lending? You've mentioned bridging. Take it you're looking at development finance as well. Um,
Yeah, development finance, specialist lenders. So that could be people looking at limited company lending. So they could reduce their rates. They may not reduce the rates. But they know that what I'm saying is they've got a corner of the market which main high street lenders don't touch. So there's the competition. Sorry, just got something in my eye there. The main competition is really what's going on between themselves. So the likes of whether it's Interbay, Keystone, Kent Reliance, Precise, and Aldermore, and Shawbrook, all those lenders, and so I think it will be very much what they want to do. And although the Bank of England has said that it expects lenders to pass on the reduction to consumers.
Sure. Waseem, I was just going to ask you in terms of what's the best way to be working with these alternative lenders? Is it through your broker? Finding a broker and leaving it that way, or is it building up a personal relationship with the actual specialist lender themselves?
Depends on your view, I guess. I mean, our clients who come to us because they don't have the time to scour the market, I guess, for lack of, for one of a better word. Who do you go to? Because if you're going to if you're going to go do it yourself and you're working on the deal, that's just taking up just more of your time. But if that's something you enjoy, that's something you like doing, and you don't, you're happy to save on the broker fee because of that, that's fine. The question is, the thing that you've got to question is how many special relationships can you make when you're doing it by yourself, given that your focus isn't broking, but your focus is actually property development, acquisition, or whatever it is you're looking to do. So you might just end up might just focus on one or two lenders, whereas a typical broker would probably, they've got their favorite lenders. I do like a couple of the lenders I use more often than the others, but typically we would have coffees or relationships with a host of lenders rather than just one or two that an investor can focus on themselves.
Sure. Waseem, I was just going to let the listeners know that you contribute the mortgage update. Sometimes you're on my panels as well. So that's the Central London Property Meet. Easy to find. If you're on Meetup, it's meetup.com/Central London Property Network. Myself, I'm easy to be contacted, best of all via Twitter, at Brendan_Quinn UK. And in collaboration with Luke Hamill, the Central London Property Meet takes place. Luke is easily found on Twitter as well, at BeLucky2. Now, obviously, there's going to be people who are listening to this call today who may be based outside of London, so may not be easy to reach yourself. But what's the best way to reach you? Is it through an email?
Yeah, so if people do, thank you, Brendan. So if people want to get in touch, I'm on Twitter, so you can catch me on @FirstAllianceFS. Personal, I'm on @Waseem Herwitker, that's WASEEM for mother, HERWITKER for Romeo. And my email address is info@firstalliancefinancialservices.co.uk. I understand that's a bit of a mouthy email. I am in the throes of a rebrand, so that will hopefully change and become much more manageable.
Sure. Just going back to strategies and so forth. I hear lots about build to rent. Is that where you think the market's moving to, or do you think it's moving away from HMOs? I've heard lots about service apartments. You go to my meets, but you're also at different meets as well, so you're going to hear different things. So where do you think the market's going to, or it's too early to say post-Brexit? What do you notice post-Brexit?
I don't think Brexit or post-Brexit is going to influence what people want to do. I think that will personally depend on what their own strategy is. If anything, Brexit has had an impact on the market level, but from a property side of things, I think it's probably the tax changes and changes that were made prior to Brexit that's going to drive people's investments, not Brexit per se. People are tentative, or people have been tentative. I mean, from our side, it's just been business as normal. Nothing's really changed. We've had inquiries around developments, as bridging, inquiries coming in, but we've still got people who want to buy, people who want to acquire portfolios. If anything, I will probably see an upsurge in the remortgage market. Unless people have got those really, really good tracker rates, those amazing track rates from years ago, there are people who are going to be, there's going to be a flood of people just sort of coming off fixed rates this year, next year, we'll go into the higher standard variable rates. And I think as long as the market doesn't crash, as long as there's no major correction, that's where I think we're going to see a lot of activity around the remortgage side.
Sure. We're seeing just to let the listeners know, I'm sure we're going to catch up with another recording at some point. I definitely would like to make it a little bit more interactive as well, i.e. with not just myself, but potentially a few other key people involved in the conversation. So just to let the listeners know, so the next meetup I've got in Central London is coming up this Wednesday evening. Yourself will be there, Luke Hamill. It's going to be quite interesting because I've got Luke's buy to hold, whereas I have someone who's also a trader as well, Alan Frost, who will be giving a presentation.
Okay.
So I've informed the listeners about how to get hold of the tickets, meetup.com /Central London Property Network. That's the best way to find out more about the details. There'll also be an event description or description underneath the video with the link to the Eventbrite page as well if you're not on Meetup. So that particular Meetup group's got almost 900 members. So and in terms of these interviews, I'll be doing more interviews over the next few months, video and audio interviews. So if there's someone you'd like to listen to, possibly for me to interview them, or maybe you'd like to be involved in a deeper conversation, more than one-to-one, do let me know. As I say, thanks for joining me this morning on the Brendan J. Quinn interviews.
Thanks for having me, Brendan.
I really appreciate you joining me as well, Waseem. I know it's been some time out of your day for the beautiful August. So huge thanks for you taking time out. And as I say to listeners, there's a monthly property meet I have, which Waseem comes to in the evening time, once a month, Central London. The Central London group's been going for the last 2 years. As I say, one of the most amazing people co-hosting it at Be Lucky to Luke Hamill. So I just want to say a huge thanks for your time this morning.
And, thanks for your time as well.
Thank you.
To people.
Thank you.